Hi, today we're going to be covering slides 64 to 83. Please make sure you have something to write with. So that's almost 20 slides, so be ready. So just to give you a reminder, the definition of population is a group of the same species living together in one area. So if we said the population of Runnymede or the population of New Jersey, we're going to be talking about just the humans that live in New Jersey. If we said the population of bald eagles in New Jersey, we would just be talking about the bald eagles that live in New Jersey. So population is just one species. The size of the population is always going to change based on biotic factors and abiotic factors. And all of these interactions affect that population. So examples of biotic factors that may affect a population would be their food sources. If there's not enough food for them, they're going to decline. If there's a lot of food for them, their population can increase. Abiotic factors would be things like rain. Not enough rain, too much rain is going to affect a population. Temperature, if there's a major climate change, will affect a population if they can't exist in that temperature anymore. Just the terrain. If it became, if I decided to get rid of all of the grass on my property and make it pavement, and now I increased the cement that's on my property, it's going to decrease the living things that would be living on my property. So those would be some abiotic factors. So I'm going to skip the next sentence. All right. Population size. Suppose that we think about your family as a distinct population. How would the following events affect your population? So would they increase or decrease? So your mom has a baby, it's going to increase. Your grandparent dies, population of your family is going to decrease. Your older brother gets married and brings home a new wife or a new spouse. That would be an increase. Populations and ecosystems work much the same way. Populations increase when a new organism is born or organisms join the population, and we call that immigrate. So when a new organism immigrates to that population. Populations decreased when organisms die, and they decrease when emigration happens. These two words sound very similar, but emigrate means to leave a population. Excuse me. So the word emigrate starts with an E, means to exit. Immigrate means to join, to be included. Okay, it starts with an I. So in this picture here, we see illegal poaching of elephants for their ivory tusk. This severely will decrease an elephant's population. So as populations try to obtain the resources necessary for survival, their population changes accordingly. Consider a population of deer in forest. For most of the year, they eat plants, fruit, seeds, and nuts. But then during the winter, those food sources become difficult for them to find. They will then eat whatever they can find, including twigs, leaves, and bark. If they're unable to find food, how is that going to affect their population size? Obviously, their population size will decrease. All right, so it says to click on the boxes here. I'm just going to tell you the answers. When resources are ready available, population size will, and you're going to write increase. When resources are not available, population size will decrease. So you might want to pause this and write the sentence down. When resources are readily available, population size will, you're going to write increase. For the second sentence, when resources are not available, population size will decrease. Oh, look at that. I forgot I had that. So when you're done writing this, move on to the next slide. Question 17 is true or false. So again, pause it if you need time to copy the sentence. When plenty of resources are available, a population will decrease. Is that true or false? The answer is false. 18. When conditions, what conditions will cause a population to decrease? And we're going to pick two. A population is going to decrease when organisms die and when there's an emigration of organisms. So don't just write down B or C. Please write down these two answers. So let's go back to the word interspecific competition. Interspecific, again, is two different species. So in the grasslands of Africa, lions, leopards, and hyenas all compete for the same food source. So these are three different species competing for the same food source. How do you think this affects their population size? So here's how. In the interspecific competition, the strongest competitor is going to gain access to additional resources. And the strongest competitor will experience a population increase. The weakest competitor will not have access to the necessary resources and will experience a population decrease. So for example, if lions continually fight off the hyenas, then the lions will eat more food and have a stable or increasing population. The hyenas will eat less food and they will have a decreasing population. Suppose that an oak tree in your front yard is discovered by a population of squirrels. The oak tree is tall and wide, offering abundant food and shelter, meaning that there's plenty. Abundant means plenty of food and shelter. In light of these abundant resources, what do you predict is going to happen with the squirrels? That there's plenty of resources. What do you think there's going to happen? Yeah, they're going to have babies. So the population is going to increase. So over the next several years, the squirrel population increases dramatically due to the availability of food and shelter. During that time, the tree continues to be healthy and produces the same amount of food and offers the same amount of shelter. The amount of shelter and food necessary to allow the squirrel population to survive, however, has increased. So now there's going to be more babies, bigger population. There's going to be a need for more shelter and more food. What do you predict is going to happen to the squirrel population now? So a couple years later, we have tons of squirrels. They're going to need more food and there isn't enough. So now what's going to happen? All right. So for any what's going to happen? Obviously now there's going to be a decrease in population. Some of those squirrels are not going to survive, or they're going to have to emigrate and move to a new area to find a new place to live. All right. So let's look at a picture representing what we were just talking about. So we have the tree, we have the squirrels. All right. So for any population, in the presence of plentiful resources, the population is going to increase. But however, as the population grows, so now we're having a bigger population, the resources necessary for the survival also grow. So now there's more of a need for food. More babies, more food's needed because those babies grow up to be big squirrels. All right. So if the population becomes bigger, then the resources available, individuals will have to compete in order to survive. So now there's going to be a big competition between the same species for this food. That's intraspecific competition. Squirrels are going to compete against other squirrels. Eventually, the population will level out and a certain size that is a balance will begin. So there's going to be a balance between the population size and what resources are available. That is called carrying capacity. So carrying capacity of your environment is meaning just the right number of living things that the resources are available for. So when carrying capacity is reached, if we go over that, the species won't survive. So carrying capacity is the maximum. It's like if you were carrying groceries in from the car, it's just the right amount that you can carry before you drop everything. Okay, that's your carrying capacity. Question 19. Interspecific competition can cause, and let's read the choices. Interspecific, remember that's two different species. One population to decrease while the other one increases. Both populations increase, or both populations decrease. So when there's two different species competing, like the lions and the hyenas, what's going to happen? And you're going to write out this entire question And the entire answer, the answer is A. One population is going to decrease while the other one increases. Pause it if you need to. Question 20. When a population is introduced to unlimited resources, meaning there's plenty of food, there's plenty of shelter, what is that population going to do? And the answer is C. The population size will dramatically increase. 21. When does intraspecific competition affect population size? So that's the same species, squirrel against squirrel. When do they affect population size? And that's going to be B, when resources are limited. Please remember, you're writing out the question and then this complete answer, the correct answer. So the squirrels are going to compete when there's not enough resources. The lions will compete against other lions when there's not enough resources. Humans will compete against other humans when there's not enough resources. All right, 22. When a population reaches its carrying capacity, what does that mean? Think about your carrying and your groceries. I'll read these all since they're long, and then we'll go over the right answer. Does it mean there's enough resources for the population to increase? Interspecific competition forces the population to decrease. Predation controls the size of the population, or the population has reached a size that can be maintained by available resources. The answer is D. Again, write out the full question, and the correct answer is D. And I think that was our last slide. Yep. Okay, so we're going to stop right there, check Google Classroom, and see what you have to do next.